Hi guys, so I just wanted to come in here to do concerning all this September 23rd date for confirmations and all that. I was watching a video about this guy talking about like how he was a mucker and that he had confirmations from years before because God wasn't giving them to him. He said that God was giving them to him years ago, and I remember I got that too, but I've been having confirmation since then, this year. So I just wanted to tell my story. I've never done a video, especially here on YouTube, and yeah, so I became a Christian in 2008 or 16, no 15, 2015. I met my husband a month later in that same church, and we were always talking ever since on August 23rd. And then a year later, we got married. And then we were newlyweds, and we had our first child in 2018. And around that time, I would ask him, like, what is the rapture? Like, I've heard of that, but I've never, I don't know how that would work or how that happened. And he would say, he didn't know about it. He would say, I don't know, you can ask my dad. He was the pastor's kid. So we called his dad and asked him, and all he said was just be ready, and it can happen anytime. So, okay, and we were like, okay. So I remember asking God that if the rapture did happen in my lifetime, that I wanted to be pregnant. And sure enough, I am pregnant. This is my 5th child. But last year, we thought that was our last child we were gonna have. But it came to our surprise that I was pregnant. We were so happy about that. We have 3 boys and now 2 girls. But we're excited. And I am due September 29, and I did have confirmation from my second one in 2021. He was supposed to be born October 4th, and September 23rd came, and I was working, and I was having contractions that day. So I went home. I told everyone I was gonna go home. I told my husband, I texted him, I told my husband, I told the doctor I was working for, I was working at some cardiologist, and I told them I needed to go because I was having contractions, and I thought I knew I was gonna have the baby around that time. So I went home, took a nap, and my water broke, and the next morning, September 24th, I had him. And I was like, this is way too early, but he came out like my first child. He was the same pounds, same ounces, everything. So I think I was full term with him. So no premature, nothing. He was fine. And I was shocked, and I loved it. It was a nice birth. And then we went, so after that, fast forward to this year, I watched Brother Joshua's video, the 2 videos he made. I watched them, and I was like, oh, this is funny. Every year they do rapture dates and all that, but I feel like God was confirming it year after year, that it was gonna be around that time in September. But something about Brother Joshua's video or testimony was accurate and like humbling. I don't know, it was in my spirit that I knew it was gonna happen this year too. But the same week that I watched his videos, my parents went on a trip to Texas to see my sisters. But they said that out of my 4 kids, they were gonna only take one, and the one that was going to, the one that's potty trained, and the one that's not in school. So he was my second. He's 3 right now. So he is potty trained, and he wasn't going to school, so they took him. So I remember watching that, and I was like, what confirmations can I have about that? And then I remember I was like, oh wait, my September baby, my mom took him, and he's not here right now, so that's funny. So that was one of the confirmations. It was so funny. And then I had a rapture dream, but it was like really, really fast. But I was with my mom, and I just said, oh, it's a rapture, and that's it. And my husband, he was like, oh, they say this every year, are you sure it's gonna happen? Because they did it in 2023, and he was like, I was bummed, but it was whatever. I knew it was not gonna happen or whatever. I was like, well, this is it. I told him, maybe. And I was starting to, like, with him, I was like, that's true. But I was like, God, if this is true, like, give me more confirmations and all that. And then I watched this video of this guy that was skeptical and mocking people online, saying, oh, no one knows the day of the hour. He would be the one saying that too. But I'll probably link, I don't know how to use YouTube, but I'll probably link his video down below, because his videos have been amazing and I have been loving them, and actually prompted me to do this video, because I've never made this, and I'm super nervous, but I'm so excited. This is why I need to share it. So what else was I gonna say? I don't even know what I was gonna say. So I was telling my husband to have, like, to pray for confirmations and to pray with me. We do pray every night. Like, we always are like, God, if you have any dreams or visions or anything, just let us know. My husband, one time, a couple months ago, he woke up and he said, whoa, I saw Jesus in the clouds. But he didn't really see him, but he says that his silhouette was up there in the clouds, and that was it. He just saw him, and then he woke up. So I was like, okay, that's good. So when a couple of days later went on, this was last month, before I woke up, I heard a voice that said, you are due September, no, you're giving birth September 23rd, and I am due September 29th, so it could happen any moment now. But I was like, oh wow, that was interesting, because I woke up after I heard that. I was like, that was interesting, that was nice to hear September 23rd in my sleep. Because I woke up and I knew it wasn't my husband, because he was dead asleep. He was like on the other side, turned that way, and nowhere near, like, trying to talk to me. But it was funny. When I told him that, he was like, oh, and then you are having him September 23rd. And then, but he was still skeptical. He was like, I don't even know, maybe not, it could happen, but I hope it happens. He would say that a lot. He would be like, I hope it happens. And then he would talk to me about, like, November, what we're gonna do with the family, and how we're gonna do all this, like, for Christmas and all that. And I was like, we're not gonna be here. It doesn't matter, we're not gonna be here. And he was like talking about, like, stress about him at work, and I was like, why are you worried about it? We're not gonna be here. I keep saying that we're not gonna be here, and I'm so excited. But he was skeptical. He's like, if we're not here, if, that was his word, if we're not here, we'll do this and that. But I kept telling him that we're not gonna be here. I know we're not gonna be here. But I was like, I asked God to not only give him a dream or vision or anything like that. I told him if he could have like a feeling or something like that. So a couple nights went by. This was a couple of nights ago, actually. He woke up screaming, shaking, and with chills from head to toe, because I felt them, and he doesn't really get chills a lot. So he woke up and he was like, what was that? Whoa. And I woke up and I was like, we were both barely falling asleep. It was like super fast. And I was like, what happened? And then he's like, did you just say? I called him his name, and I was like, he said I was looking out the window, and I said, oh my gosh. And then, did you see that? And then he said he was going up. He felt like his soul was going up. Like he had, I think we've all had that dream of like falling and then like waking up. He said he's had that so many times, but never going up. So that was crazy. He was like, that is something I'm never gonna forget. Like the feeling, oh my goodness, it was so crazy. So I think this is it. God is telling me something. So I was laughing. I was like, I prayed that you would get something like this. And God is so funny. And yeah, it was crazy. So after watching that video of the guy that I'm gonna link his video, if I can try to do that, if I can. He said that he had confirmations from a year ago and then a couple years ago too. My son, when he was born in 2021, he was my second one. So we had just bought a house, and I was like, I don't want to go back to work. I really don't. And that video reminded me of like when I was skeptical going back to work and leaving my child in daycare or with my family or somebody. I remembered, like, after I had him, I left work. I just quit. I went and told everyone I was leaving. I wasn't coming back, and I'm staying with my baby at home. So I've been a stay-at-home mom for 4 years now, and it's been awesome. And that was a huge confirmation too, because we're leaving. And he was a baby that was born in September, and I left work. Like my whole world turned around, which was crazy that came to mind. But me being pregnant at this time is so funny. That's how God works. Because I remember maybe 8 years ago, I asked him that. I was like, if it's in my lifetime, I want to be pregnant. And oh my goodness, God is funny. This is my 5th baby. I never thought I was gonna have more than 2. But we're excited. Be encouraged. God loves you. Get right with God if you're not. If anything, encourage one another. Don't let other people tell you they're not, because they don't know. You need to ask God. Ask God for confirmation. He will give it to you, even if he did years ago, probably 10 years ago. He did with me. That is funny. And I love you guys, and I don't know any of this, but I'm excited. So keep your heads up, pray about it, get right with God if you're not, find a Bible believing church, and just love God and be encouraged. I love you guys. See you guys. I don't think I'll ever make another video like this, but I just needed to. Love you guys. Bye.
Bless you, everyone. I would like to share a dream that I had about the rapture, and I'm gonna try to do it in Spanish as well. So basically, in the dream, I was in a car. I was sitting in the back seat with my mom and my brother, and there were two other passengers in the front. And we were going by this bridge in this town called Gurabo, or I guess it's pronounced Gurabo. And basically, I was looking out, and it was night. The night had fallen, and I looked up to the heavens, and I saw what it appeared to be a plane called the B-2 bomber. It's actually called the Spirit. And when I saw that, a couple of seconds later, I saw that there was a lightning that struck, and the sky turned purple. And immediately from that, we went up to the heavens. And while we were flying, going up, I had the opportunity to look down, and I saw that the passenger in the right front seat had stayed behind. And that really struck me in the dream, because I could see that person's face, and it had the look of like, wow, like I stayed behind. And when I was looking up, I could see a light, bright light, and I could tell it was the Lord. And next thing you know, we were in heaven. And there's just so much going on. And at one point, I asked the Lord, and we and other people, if we could see what was happening on earth. And the Lord took us to this area where he moved the clouds, and he allowed us to see what was going on. And it was just pure chaos. There were first responders, EMS, all kinds of vehicles, moving and trying to attend the chaos that was happening. And one curious thing was like when he took us to this area in heaven, he moved the clouds with his hand. And a lot of people have said that there's a place in heaven that you could see, earth. And I believe it's true, because I saw that in the dream. It's like a window that you could see earth. One thing that I noticed about being in heaven was like, God gives you the ability to magnify your vision. Like, so basically the things that you can see from a far distance, he gave you the ability to see it much closer. And we could see earth as if we were much closer to it than we were actually were. We were in heaven. But we could see earth as we were maybe a few thousand feet or less from it. And after that, I saw a bunch of people like line up, and with burned clothes, and they were all in line standing. And I could understand that was the judgment of the white throne. Some people have had dreams about it. There's a guy around the web that had a dream about it, and he actually hears God's voice telling people, depart from me, and how they fall, into this pit. You can look it up online. And there's different dreams. I had a friend who had a dream that he told me he was like in a cave, and it was dark, and he would see angels come down to the cave and point at people, like you there, come up, and he would take them up. And he told me how he would try to hide from the angel, but it eventually caught up to him. And he told me that he'd understood that his soul was lost, and it was time for him to give accountability to God for what he had said and done on earth while he was alive. So I think that's very powerful and interesting. There are other aspects about the dream that right now I don't come to my mind, but I wanted to share it because I do believe that the rapture is near. Three things, or a couple more things that I want to point out about the beginning of the dream was like how the B-2 bomber had appeared. And I think the B-2 bomber, in some aspects, to some people, is a marvel of technology because of its delicate capabilities and its endurance, and also how it's used for strategic missions and to show power projections, and still to this day ahead of pretty much any aircraft in its category. And it's also interesting how it's called the Spirit. I think that's very important, because if you search what Spirit means and what it is, what it does, it's connected to the mind, right? It basically builds the mental infrastructure of the person, right? So I think that's very interesting. Also, the lightning strike, people that worship the enemy a lot of them have a lightning as a symbol, and that comes from Revelation chapter 12, when the enemy, right, was cast out from heavens, and it was thrown to earth. And some people have come to the conclusion that that's why in the beginning, Genesis chapter 1, the earth was empty and somewhat destroyed, right? So I think the lightning in that dream represented the judgment, because it's also, lightning represents judgment as well, and it brightens up, right? When the lightning strikes, it brightens up the area where it appears, right? And it's also fast, right? So I think those are curious aspects of the dream, and the purple, the sky turning purple. You may know it deals with royalty, and I believe that in the dream what he meant was like, this new government that's about to arise, and I think all these things are connected. I want to say it in Spanish so that people that do not understand English can understand, or speak Spanish can understand.